Hey everybody, Brian Zane here, and I'm joined by J Biggs for a very special edition video. You were going to come here to film anyway, and then this news dropped in our laps this morning. First reported by Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful that a lot of WWE releases happened today. It's the latest in wave after wave we've been seeing this year alone.
Yeah. And this round, like you said earlier when we were talking, just feels different.
Yeah.
And it does, and here's why. It's because it's actual, like, I guess you'd say stars.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just those people who are like, oh, I get that. You know?
This is not your gaggle of jobbers or people who rock catering or things like that.
Right.
You have some former champions in here. You have a former world champion from last year who's in this batch of releases. Braun Strowman's the biggest name. Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Ruby Riott, Lana, and Santana Garrett are the ones who have been released as of this recording. We could be, it's the morning.
It could be even more by the end of this video, literally.
Yeah, so hopefully we won't have to do too much updating here, but this is the latest batch of releases. One thing we want to get out of the way before we talk about all these people is that they're all going to be fine. I think everyone who's on this list of releases, especially because things are opening up more, the business is opening up more, I think they're all going to find their footing somewhere.
Right.
I don't want to bother speculating where each person is going to go. Just know this, AEW is not going to hire all these people, so just
calm down.
Yeah. It's a weird bunch of emotions, because on one hand, I'm like, it's business. We hear this all the time when we see these mass releases. Oh, it's business. It's what
business not like do. Vince just woke up and said, I'm cutting all these guys or something. I mean, there's got to be a reason, right? Like, there's always, it's like when you hear someone's opinion or story, it's like always there was that side of the truth and this side of the truth and then the truth and the real truth in the middle.
Something in the middle. And we've heard things like budget cuts as one of the reasons. And we'll get to that.
I haven't heard anything yet.
We'll get into a little bit as far as like these waves of releases and what that all means. But we'll go through these stars, these talents one by one and kind of give our thoughts. I'll say wasted potential is a phrase you'll hear a lot or hear alluded to in this video. There's a lot of that, I think, in this crop of stars.
Yeah.
First one we'll talk about is probably, in my opinion, and the opinion of many, the biggest and most shocking name to go here, Braun Strowman. Probably the most shocking because, like I said, he was a world champion just last year. He was on pay-per-view just like a couple of weeks ago at WrestleMania Backlash, practically killing himself with these crazy bumps.
I remember that.
In the title match, he just threw Shane McMahon off the top of the cage at WrestleMania. And this guy's seen and done some stuff, broke some Royal Rumble records.
Yeah.
And you have to go like, what happened here? Like, one thing I heard was maybe he has a massive contract. That might have had a reason as to why.
Maybe they found out he had another Tinder account or something.
There are at least 2 or 3 occasions, big moments in the last few years where they could have just said, pull the trigger, you're our new guy. They could have had it against, Lesnar,
Undertaker,
or against Reigns,
or anything.
There's all these different things you could have done with Strowman, and it would have made sense, and it would have felt right. And then they just didn't do it. Like, he's the archetypal, like, big, beefy dude that Vince allegedly likes so much, and he was pretty much trained from the ground up, taken from strongman competitions. They put him through the ringer and taught him the way they want it to be done.
Right.
They put him through all these big storylines. And it's just like, he became a star and a huge merch mover.
They downloaded the train noises, damn it.
They gave him choo-choo noises. when they give you cartoon sound effects for your offense, that's how you know you're over and the company really believes in you.
They've really dropped the ball on him year after year at WrestleMania.
It's true.
At Mania for sure. Even last year's got to feel like thanks for coming because Roman didn't.
Yeah, right. Roman didn't show up, so Braun was like, his Universal title win last year feels kind of cheap because he was last-minute replacement, don't you think?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's like he finally got that win, but it was in front of nobody.
I'm sure he will not be hurting at all. Between the money he's earned and between the prospects he has post-WWE life, I'm sure he'll be fine. But I have to say, there's a tiny little bit, like, compare like Braun Strowman to James Ellsworth size. It's a James Ellsworthian level of schadenfreude for Braun Strowman, because it was last year when he's like, you independent wrestlers need to become more responsible. He was like telling people to get real jobs, and now he's going to be working the indies, so I hope you made some friends. I think Braun Strowman in the indies could be great. I said that years ago.
I don't believe he's going there. I bet you anything he goes to New Japan or something like that.
Because he could be a big gaijin monster in Japan.
Oh my lord, he could, yes, absolutely. And even AEW, if they'll hire Mark Henry, I'm sorry, why wouldn't you give Braun Strowman a contract? Nothing against Mark Henry.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
No, they'll bring Strowman in so he can slam Mark Henry again. They'll break the ring once again.
Right. There you go. That's the payoff.
Moving on to Aleister Black, the former Tommy N. Now, Biggs, you were telling me before we were rolling, this was your most surprising release.
Yeah. It is, just because of all the talk recently about Zelina Vega coming back and you know, just... And he was just, you know, he came out at the end of that big Intercontinental 4-way and, you know, gave that kick to Big E. And
we
he was
literally
out.
just saw him.
Like, literally. What the heck?
They've been building him.
And he's a Heyman guy, too, apparently. And Heyman, you know, so I don't know. Like, so to me, there's just a weird aspect of this. Like, is Zelina... Because we're not even sure if she was signed back or not.
No.
She just showed up at the Performance Center.
There was a story she showed up at the Performance Center, and so you thought, oh, maybe things are patching up. And then you hear about this. Like, wouldn't it be some cruel irony if they rehired Zelina
and then got rid of him? Yeah, but when they didn't do anything with that guy during her whole release.
There's a whole... I mean, you could write a book on, like, just Aleister Black alone, and...
Oh, how that's been ripped.
What they didn't do with him. I think it's like... It's crazy. All the months he spent sitting in a dark room cutting promos... or just not being on TV at all. And it's not like he's a boring wrestler. It's not like he's not interesting to look at. They just started this new storyline with him, The Dark Father. They did vignettes. They did animations for him, and those cost money. And then, yeah, you bring him on TV, and then you cut him. Like, what is...
I would not be surprised if Eva Marie was cut. Today.
Really? You
I'm
think
not
so?
Even joking. Yeah, at this point even.
No,
yes,
they've got to hold everything down and keep the budget tight so the evolution can continue unabated. I'm not going to say that Aleister was going to be the next Undertaker, but there was clearly something there.
Heyman was pushing for him to face Lesnar, I believe, pre-pandemic.
Yeah, there's, I mean, a lot of what ifs with a lot of these guys, and Aleister Black's definitely one of the biggest for me. But I mean, he is so dynamic and so unique that I don't see him suffering on the unemployment line for very long, if at all. Buddy Murphy is one of the releases. Very good in the ring, a great competitor, and I've always been impressed by the stuff I see in the ring with him. So on the microphone. I don't think he was never really given a chance to be a good character or a good talker, but I think what he did in the ring speaks for itself. He and Aleister Black.
Absolutely.
He and Aleister had some
those matches were great.
Insane matches. And I think they really kind of helped almost change the... I don't want to say something as cliche or as rote as change the culture, but I mean, I think that they definitely changed a lot of minds on what the WWE style can look like.
Right.
Because they were doing some innovative, just different stuff in their series, and they always brought the house down. So I see good things for Buddy as well. It's crazy to think about his last major storyline where he was a lackey for Seth Rollins.
Right.
And then this translated into the endless feud with the Mysterio family, which then ended up with Buddy Murphy dating Aaliyah Mysterio. And then it ended. He was like, oh, he was welcome to the family, and then you never heard from them again.
Right. You know?
It was so weird, and they went for months, and then they brought him back a little bit recently, right? He was the on-again, off-again lackey with Seth.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, that's right. He did come back like one time.
He was on TV like twice for 2 weeks or something, and then he was never used again.
I'm sure we're going to see him pop up as well. He's a guy who I expect to be on the indies for sure.
Oh yeah, he's gonna have a good old indie run for sure. There's a lot of people, licking their chops right now, doing a lot of hand rubbing. They're thinking, ooh, I could make a pitch to my local promoter to get me a match with Buddy Murphy. Ruby Riott is the next one we'll be talking about here. / Heidi Lovelace. Is it Lovelace or Lovelace? Let us know in the comments her independent name. This was also a bit of a shock. It's just another blow to the already decimated and anemic women's division in WWE, in particular the tag division. Who are Natalya and Tamina gonna fucking fight when all these tag teams get broken up? Liv Morgan is the only person from the Riott Squad who's left standing, and we are still waiting for her breakout moment. We've been waiting for 3 or 4 years now. They never really knew what to do with her, and I think that's the biggest thing. The Riott Squad, their biggest claim to fame was them being merry mischief makers and cutting ties and pouring coffee on tables, and we're gonna flip this mop cone.
There was a SmackDown, if you guys heard it or not, on the
recently.
audio review. Yeah, in the last couple weeks or so, where Ruby Riott had a tag team match, and I don't know what it was about her emotions. I actually mentioned it in the review that she just seemed like she was there. I don't know how to say it. She just like her mind wasn't in it or something.
You felt from watching that she was going through the motions.
Absolutely, 100% with that.
We're gonna be hearing these wrestlers giving their side of the story. It's gonna be a slow drip and turn into a deluge. I'm sure. Another person we just saw on TV this week before her release is Lana.
And she didn't go through a table.
This was another surprise for me, you know. I'm not going to say she was some amazing talent, but I mean, you could see her progression just in the last year and a half alone. Thinking about the amount of time, I don't want to say effort because there was no effort, but the amount of time they put into building Lana up as like this baby face and as someone to rally behind.
Right.
Have her be the sole survivor for the Survivor Series match this last year. Have her challenge for the tag team championships with Naomi and stuff. And it's just, poof, it's gone. Like, why? It's just like, it's somebody who you thought was going to be part of that scene for a while, and just for one reason or another, didn't happen. What do you think about Lana being Ghana?
I think Lana being Ghana is, she's going to AEW to hang out with her husband. I'm pretty positive of that.
The best girl. Again, another blow to the women's tag team division. I just saw a tweet just now before we start recording this line here. The entirety of the main roster tag division right now for the women right now is Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke and Tamina and Natalya. Pretty much is it. And it just makes no sense. Why would you make these belts and then do everything in your power to just ravage that division?
Do you think this has anything to do with Lily?
Oh, yes. It's that evil doll Lily.
It's Lily.
It's Lily's doing.
She's gotten into the WWE corporate heads.
You're right. She's corrupted them. And finally, on this list of today's releases so far,
as of press time,
knock on wood, is Santana Garrett, who is somebody who I think she kind of came along, she was ahead of her time. Because if the WWE cared about women's wrestling the way they did maybe 3 years ago...
Oh, you mean during the women's revolution that Stephanie created?
Right. Everyone knows she created that. But I think that... You know, Santana Garrett was somebody who really made her bones and really hit her stride in the independents in an era before women's wrestling was really co-opted by WWE and this mainstream thing, where she was involved in Shimmer and all these things, and she was a mainstay in that. And now, when she was NXT for a long time, is that she was enhancement talent. So yeah, I don't have much to say about her time in WWE.
Honestly, I don't know too much about it. I mean, I know who she is and everything because, you know, I've heard the name and I've seen a match or two on NXT, but I don't watch it like you do. And it's weird that they're even trimming the roster. They only seem to be featuring like 12 people anyways each freaking week. Like, what the freak?
It's so weird, the state of WWE right now. This is like what happens when they spend years scooping up every talent they possibly can. And
I guess so.
For the explicit intent of doing nothing with them, just to say they have them, there's kind of an era of it's just business. It's natural for, you know, publicly traded businesses to try and cut the budget and everything.
Right.
We get that. And, you know, as time has gone on and more of these mass releases have been happening in the last couple of years, I'm less upset about it because I understand that. I know that most, if not all, these wrestlers are going to be fine. But there's a bit of an interesting timing with all these releases we've been seeing this year alone. Because we're not even talking about Samoa Joe or the Iconics or a lot of the digital team members or the NXT folk. So many people to name. This is the biggest one. And with all these together, the rumor is now it's like they wouldn't be doing all this if they weren't shopping the company around. Do you think, after years of rumors of this, do you think a sale is imminent?
I think one day. Why not? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but my thoughts would be if you were someone like a Vince McMahon or, well, maybe not Vince, but Triple H or Stephanie at this point, that, you know, you do want to have a life, you know, eventually, and you can't really, you know, be 24/7, 365, be an executive and have much of a life. I'm just going to be real with you. I don't think that Triple H and Stephanie are just hanging out and drinking mimosas, you know, by the pool all freaking day. I mean, they're working. You see them out there doing business and stuff. So maybe their plan is to get a pretty much infinite amount of money, or maybe they have like a share or something, you know what I mean, that they can have in the company where they're always getting paid even though they're not there, or something like that.
After years now, it feels there's been rumors of Vince selling the company to someone, and like we've heard like NBC Universal's been a candidate,
Disney.
or someone named Disney, Fox as well, as I've heard recently, as Fox might be a possible, or News Corporation, I guess, is the parent company. That I'm a firm subscriber to not believing it until I see it.
Right.
So I can't really speak on the rumors of sales. That's the rumor right now is, oh, they're doing all these cost-cutting measures and stuff. But who really knows for sure until it actually happens? But if you're Vince McMahon, like, yeah, I could see him wanting to get out. You know, he's made his money, he's earned it, and he can finally fade off into the sunset and
maybe, yeah.
So our final thoughts on this latest wave of releases is, I mean, it's shocking, especially given who they've cut. It seems to be a smaller part of a larger thing that might be at play here. But in the end of the day, all these wrestlers are going to be fine.
Well, let me ask, have you heard about this, just real quick, on a side note thing, have you heard of this whole New Japan partnership that they might do? I mean, maybe there's something to do with that.
They're saving all their money because they're getting rid of all these people because they want to make room for all the New Japan guys they're going to bring in, right?
Oh, they're going to be just like Impact and AEW. More of what I was thinking was that maybe these guys can horn their skills a little bit. Like it's like they plan on eventually rehiring a Braun Strowman or Buddy Murphy or something. You know, I don't know.
That is an important thing to consider because we've learned in the last few years that, you know, it's not the end of your career when you're released from WWE. Think of how many people have come back to the company in the last several years. Think of people who've left the company, come back, and have become world champions, like Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley among them, Jinder Mahal. It's like, we've seen this happen. So by no means is this the end for any of these individuals. We want to make that clear. And it might not even be the end of them in this company.
Now we actually have some star power that's been released that might change a little bit of landscape on another show.
Yes, I think that's something to consider as well. I mean, it is kind of becoming, like I said, as the pandemic is, you know, as the world is opening back up and more wrestling companies are getting back into in the thick of things kind of have a Wild West feel to it that I felt we were getting a lot pre-pandemic.
Right.
And now it's kind of back and things are opening up and a lot of opportunities feel like they're becoming more available. And so, yeah, I think it's an exciting time. It's a scary, volatile time, I'm sure, for these released wrestlers. But like I said, I think they'll find a way to get back, and I'm sure there's going to be room for them, you know, at the grand table that is professional wrestling. Right. Who knows how many more dominoes will fall in this process before something big happens, if it does.
It's still the morning of.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted if something changes. But as of right now, let us know what you think of these releases. Who surprises you the most? If you guys want to speculate on who's going to go where, have at it. But I mean, I'm keeping it pretty reserved for this one. And we're not in the business of speculating who else is going to be fired. That's just pretty gross, I think. Right. But let us know what you think about this current crop of releases in the comments section below. And we'll keep you posted if anything changes. Right. But until then, for J Biggs, I'm Brian Zane. We'll see you next time.